if that doesn't prove everything every flat earther has ever said is right, then I don't know what does.
I see the headlines. Creaky blinder visits New Jersey Freemason in his spare time.
Yeah. Please subscribe. Who's seen Wednesday's video about Richard Vobes? I kind of was aware of him on Wednesday morning before I started recording, and luckily before I found a video, because it saved me a bit of time. Somebody in the Discord server, a user called F4, sent me links to a few of Richard Vobes' videos and said that he enjoys Reynard Wilson covering them and he'd like to see me covering them. Because I'm Mr. Helpy Helpington, I made a video about my new pal Richard, and published it that night. And I tell you what, I've looked through his channel a little bit, and you've only got to look through it a little bit to see that this guy is absolutely batshit. Now, if you went back pre-COVID, his channel was quite cool. He was doing sort of travel reviews / vlog type of thing. Basically, sort of I think it was pre-COVID. He was just an older, you know, very smartly dressed, dandy gentleman doing normal stuff on YouTube. And I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if it was like a knock on the head or something, but he's just...
I think something weird happened to a lot of people over the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people got very conspiratorial and sort of never came back from it.
It was like every flat earther was suddenly an anti-vaxxer, and, you know, it was all that kind of... because they were able to tie it all into that sort of distrust of anyone and anything that has a perceived sort of amount of authority over you. So I think it was very easy for them to slip into.
And I think as well, over the pandemic, you know, a lot of governments were sort of caught out misbehaving.
Yeah,
you know, the British government, without getting into all of that.
We were literally the last to know, weren't we? It was like the rest of the world was already in lockdown, and it was as if Doris went, oh, well, we may as well do the same then.
Yeah. But that's even that, like during the lockdowns, like what they were up to and all that.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I think a lot of people, their mistrusting government was sort of confirmed for them during COVID, and they just sort of ran with that. Now I mean, like, oh well, if that's true, then this must be, and this must be.
Exactly. But the thing is you know, that if anything, that was mismanagement.
Oh yeah,
you know, not a conspiracy.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean?
It was.
But I get what you're saying. It's exactly the sort of thing they love to latch on to. Something slightly off, therefore they and them are hiding the truth, and it just snowballs, and before you know it, it's all you can think about and talk about.
Yeah, and I think just before the pandemic also is the Epstein thing. I think didn't help. That sounded like a ridiculous out of the blue, not out of the blue, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you mean to tell me there's this secret island where the elites go, blah, blah, blah. So I think just so many little things happened that people now have run with it and stuff that can be sort of verifiably proven wrong.
Yeah. But by that point, they already kind of don't care. If you know what I mean.
They don't care at all.
It's just a bizarre thing. Always forget these. Thanks for the reminder. Geza. Was it Geza? Do you know that the whole, is it GIF or is it GIF?
Yeah.
It's GIF because it stands for graphic.
It is.
You know, I wasn't a graphic designer. I was a graphic designer. I don't get, that's one of those online debates that I do not get. But
correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the inventor of the GIF says it's GIF.
Does he? Well, he's wrong.
Even though the G stands for graphic.
Yeah, exactly. What does he think it stands for? What?
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
That doesn't, I know.
That makes absolutely no sense at all. So, especially for Padge and Jezza/Geza, I will think of something, so I've got a button to press like the super chat and welcome to
Nice.
yeah. So yeah,
That works.
That works
for now.
For now, yeah. Have you seen the video where that clip comes from? Have you?
Yeah,
the guy, he's an artist. I think I sent it to you on TikTok.
Yeah, have you seen the video of him being interviewed about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was something with his kids.
Yeah, I think his daughter showed it, but yeah, he just yeah, I know. Gravy infested frog.
It could be. It could be. Who knows? Yeah, what were you saying, Cal?
Yeah, basically, I don't know. You've seen the same clip as I have. That his daughter showed him that he'd like. I don't know where it came from, but all of a sudden he was famous overnight.
Do you know? I'm not sure if I like this extra monitor because now I can see the confusing comments all the more quickly and much more bigly. Those two dots worry me. That makes me think that A is not pronounced as an A or an A.
What language is that?
I don't know. Klingon, maybe? I don't know. I'm not even going to try yet. Anyway, what happened? We were talking about Richard Vobes. Pull up the...
So you were saying about how before the pandemic, he was just some sort of regular guy.
Yeah. So, like what I was getting at, was there an event? Was there something that happened to him or something that he was involved in that caused that switch from dapper gentleman on YouTube who makes travel content to, well, he's definitely the biggest dick I've come across so far on YouTube by a mile, because he's so arrogant in as much as I haven't watched all this video, so I really shouldn't say too much about it, but he's got a video on his channel, and in the thumbnail he's smoking a pipe, and obviously he's going down the political road of how dare they remove my choice to smoke, which that's fair enough. You know, I agree with that to a certain extent, but it's implied that smoking is not bad for you anyway. It's actually really good for you. They just don't want us to know.
There's this weird turn at the minute within, like, you know, sort of like the Rogan sphere, that sort of corner of the internet, where they're using they're trying to put like this positive spin on nicotine because nicotine is a stimulant. And so that I don't know, they're just trying to convince themselves that they can all start smoking cigarettes again and it's not bad for them.
Pull his channel up, Cal. I think I left it on the pop. So the one at the top there, they admitted that's the one I covered, and I covered it purely because it was his most viewed video. So I went into it completely blind, and it was just
sorry. You could say you were the completely blinder.
Yeah, completely blinder. Honestly, it was that video practically made itself. It was that easy to respond to. You know, there was very little I had to look up. He reminded me a bit of, I think he could be my alternate CC, because and Daniel Pratt, actually, because he literally, everything he was saying was wrong. He didn't provide any evidence that backed up his point or nothing like that. He literally was just going, yeah, but that's not wrong. Oh, so why would we do that? He wasn't giving, he was just saying they were wrong. Like if I responded to a flat earther when they said something that was obviously and blatantly wrong, I just went, oh, that's wrong. And then just let them talk a little bit more. They say something else stupid and I go, yeah, but that's not right either. And then that...
Yeah, he's not actually adding anything to it.
Yeah, not adding anything to it, and most definitely not refuting anything. So like when I say Daniel Pratt is wrong about X, Y, and Z, I have to explain then why he's wrong as accurately as I can. Otherwise, I would have absolutely no credibility at all. Because anybody can say that somebody else is wrong, but being able to demonstrate why they're wrong, that's the trick. And doing it in way that fits me and my personality, and because the way I present information is very different to Dave McKeegan, Simon Dan,
Yeah.
and Craig and all the other boys. They're very scientific in their approach, whereas I'm just ever so slightly dumbass in my approach. I just happen to be good at looking information up and understanding it. Remembering it is a very different story, which is why I don't debate people, because
I've said this before.
I don't see the point.
Debating is a skill in itself, and I think it is important to know whether you possess that skill or not.
Yeah, exactly. Like Craig is very good at it. I know some people don't like the way Craig approaches debates, but I happen to find it funny, because he couldn't give a crap if they burst into flames on the other end of the camera. He would still keep. Yeah, and I haven't got the memory recall for it. When the number of times I've looked the same thing up, when I find what I'm looking for, I always think, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
But trying to recall that, and 9 times out of 10, I've recalled it properly, but that last 1 point or 10%, whatever you want to say, it gives me enough doubt to make me think it's worth the time to just double check again, because I've always said that if I sort of made mistakes in every video, then am I really any better than the people I'm debunking? Christopher Shapley, DVM, CVA, CVCVA, CVCH, CVFT. See, I've even fluff letters. It doesn't even got to be whole words. Good evening, Doc. How are you? I didn't see Dave Messer sneak in earlier on. Right, what was Wave of Mutilation saying anyway? Arguing with people actually entrench his opinions rather than changing them on both sides. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I think that is half of the problem at the minute, is with debating as a genre of entertainment on the internet, as to a certain extent, is there is no sort of incentive to change your opinion at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no expectation of it either. That's why I think most of them end in someone having a temper tantrum.
But what you just said there, there's no, what did you say? There's no sort of advantage. What term did you use?
Incentive.
Yeah, so there's no incentive for them
to change their opinion.
Yeah, which makes, and I'm not blowing smoke up his ass or anything. I don't know him. He's just a bloke on the internet to me. But what you just said, that makes Jaron's change of position all the more sort of valuable, if you like. I doubt valuable is the right word, but because he, not only did he have nothing to gain by changing his position apart from gaining the respect of certain people, he actually had a lot to lose, because Jaron's channel's like, he's on nearly 250,000 subscribers.
Yeah, he had everything to lose.
Yeah, and he's basically tanked his channel to a certain extent by switching from being, from switching to being normal, like an actual grown up. It's a weird.
Obviously, the thing he had to gain was being grounded in reality again.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Exactly. Again for the 60s. Oh, now then, there's so much to say about this comment. We need to leave it on the screen for a while, Callum, right? To give flat earthers and other general conspiracy theorists plenty of time to digest what's happening here now. I wish I had a button I could press right now for the Pentaverate wink, because it would be highly appropriate. Chris, I know this may be a little bit coded, but everybody knows that you're a veterinarian. But the other thing that you also are, am I allowed to say that you are, so that I can fully explain the value of your 66-month celebration to, you know, to flat earthers and conspiracy theorists in general.
Are you about to tell everyone that he's a gigolo?
Well, no, he's a bit of a tart. He is. That's what Mammy's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you old tart. Absolutely, you can. So this comment, I'm right. So this man here, my mate Chris. Everybody knows Chris is everybody's favorite American veterinarian. But he's been a channel member for 66 months. If I remember correctly, Chris, you were actually my very first channel member. So as the good doctor quite rightly says, 66, Illuminati confirmed. But when you add to that the fact that Christopher Shapley, DVM, CVA, CVCH, CVFT is also a Freemason, then wow. If that doesn't prove everything every flat earther has ever said is right, then I don't know what does. What do you reckon, Chris? They would shit the bed.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I see the headlines. Creaky blinder visits New Jersey Freemason in his spare time.
Yeah, I know. There's a video.
Yeah.
That sounds like an awesome video. That sounds like the sort of video that I'd really enjoy responding to.
Yeah.
So I think our work here is done.